Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. Well, Ryan Walters is doing it again, and what is that? Sowing division and chaos within our state. And how's he doing that? Well, what he does is he comes up with this report that he only sends to select Republicans. No Democrat gets it. That's divisive in itself. And what does this report have to do? Well, it has to do with Chinese government influence in Tulsa public schools, which is a big bunch of baloney when you read through it all. So, Ryan Walters sends out a report to the legislature. Well, he only sent it to Republicans on the legislature. Everybody else didn't send it to. They'll just have to wait for the media to put it out for them to get it. Now, this serves Ryan Walters to do that. See, it causes two of his favorite tactics to happen. Chaos and division. And that's what this is about. Because by sending it only to a few people, and especially not the Democrats, he's sending a message. One is of division. He's divisive. He wants to cause division. And it does. Because you're going to have a group of people that have it and a group of people that don't. And those people that don't are at a lower level, lower tier. So he's putting them on a lower tier. He's already establishing that. He's causing division amongst the people in the legislature. Next thing it's going to do is cause chaos. Because you see, there's going to be some people with it and a lot of people without. And those people without are stuck with a bunch of unknowns. Don't know what's going on. And so this is going to cause chaos within the legislature. Everybody's not going to be on the same page. And this is actually what Ryan Walters wants. It weakens the legislature in a way. Strengthens Ryan Walters. At least that's his perception. And really, what is this all about? What is this report and everything else? Well, it has to do with him going to Congress to pull this Chicken Little Act about the Chinese Communist Party indoctrinating and propagandizing our young children. Which they're not. It's total baloney. It's not what's really going on. Ryan Walters is making it up. He's taking a acorn, hitting him on the head, and telling you that it's raining Chinese communist people and they're coming for your children to propagandize them. Exactly what he's doing. And in a way, it kind of works in his favor. Because if you know the story of Chicken Little, one of the things is you don't have to worry so much about the chicken running around with his head cut off, being all scared and anxious. It's the sly fox in the background who's manipulated Chicken Little to go and stir everybody else up to cause division and chaos. That's who it serves. And who would these foxes be? Well, they would be his backers. The people that have given him money in the past. And the people that still support him, like Betsy DeVos, the Koch brothers group, private schools, religious non-for-profits, things like that, not public schools. So this serves his backers, the foxes, well, to cause chaos and division amongst all the fowl. See, that's how it all works. And these are great tactics for people like Ryan Walters to use. And if you read through the report, he talks about this. He actually talks about the misinformation and the propaganda given out by the Chinese and everything else. And when you go through it, it reads like a big old list of projection from Ryan Walters. Because exactly what he does. He propagandizes our kids. That's what he wants to do. He wants to indoctrinate them into a right-wing Christian nationalist ideology. It's exactly what he wants to do. It's exactly what he says he wants to do. Exactly what he wants to use the PragerU material, and it's exactly what Dennis Prager said his material is meant to do. It's meant to indoctrinate kids into a right-wing ideology or view. That's exactly what it's meant to do. So basically everything in this letter he sent is a big old bag of projection about Ryan Walters. Absolutely. The guy hasn't been able to tell the truth really yet. Not much. He's big on hyperbole, little on facts. As you can see in his report. In his report, he likes to talk about how the Chinese government is funding this or that and everything else. Or he likes to talk about how these high-ranking officials within the Chinese Communist Party are actually in control of the Confucius classroom. Of course, he never cites anything. He never cites sources that said they say this. He never cites anything where you can find out where anybody says this, any articles, print, journalism, any statements or anything. He doesn't produce nothing. Just take Ryan's word for it. That's what they're doing. High-ranking officials, huh? Doesn't seem to happen. You can't find it anywhere. Only Ryan Walters is saying that. So that's what we get with this. So we've got this report about the Chinese Communist Party. And the biggest deal in it is he talks about Tulsa Public Schools, which is his favorite punching bag. And really it's one school within it, Booker T. Washington. And really it's only one teacher there who has a Chinese background and is of Chinese descent. It's one teacher that went to Dallas to a conference where they put on a Confucius classroom deal. And it was only over the Chinese language. That's what it was about. They went to this thing. It wasn't funded by Tulsa Public Schools. No one gave Tulsa Public Schools money for this teacher to go. It wasn't anything like that. The only thing was this third-party group, IL Texas, put it on. They're the ones who funded any money for doing anything. They just put it on. They didn't actually give anybody anything to go do it. Like Ryan Walters would suggest that happened. Because in his report, he talks about, hey, I'm not worried about any funding TPS might be getting from this group. And he makes sure to say might. Because you see, he doesn't know for sure. Absolutely, it's not happening. They're not funding anything for TPS. You see, so he has to say, they might, if they might fund it. Because they haven't. Because if he said they are, he's lying. He's absolutely causing slander and defamation and libel, which is what he's being sued for already. See, because he's a liar. He's a dishonest person, you see. And he's doing it for the power, the influence, and the money, and his own Christian nationalist views. That's exactly what he's doing. I don't even know if he's doing it for that. He's doing it because people like Dennis Prager and these other places are going to give him a big old bag of money if he does it for them. That's what he's doing it for. So we have this, Ryan Walters causing division and chaos so that he can go after Tulsa Public Schools, specifically Booker T. Washington. Because see, the deal is, if you haven't been paying attention, he has to go after Booker T. Washington now. Just last week, they've been accredited a Blue Ribbon Award. What's the Blue Ribbon Award? Well, it means they're a highly accredited top-tier high school. Only around 300 received this award, and very few, one, maybe 2 or 3 in Oklahoma will receive it. They received it for their excellence in education standards, teaching principles and practice, learning abilities, and everything else, and what they do for their students, what they offer. It is a high-tier school. Well, this is a shining example of what we want out of our public education system. Well, this can't stand for someone like Ryan Walters, because if you haven't been paying attention, his money backers are the private school industry, the non-for-profit religious schools, and the organizations like PragerU, the Koch brothers group, and Betsy DeVos. Those people are who he's looking out for, and if a public school does good, well, that's not going to help him at all. So what does he do? He goes to his standard tactic: cause division, create chaos. And that's what he's doing with Tulsa Public Schools right now. You saw it with the board. He's already doing it with the board. He's got them going at each other, giving one $12,000 a member of the board so that she can go after people, cause division and chaos. And it even gets worse than that, you see, because another one of Ryan Walters' favorite tactics is Stoic terrorism. He loves to rile up his base to the point where they send physical and violent threats to people. He loves this. It serves him well. That's why you don't hear him talking about it at all. The only time he came out about the bombing of the Union public school system was when they threatened to come after his own house. Well, you're not coming after mine. That makes you a bad person. But as long as they go after these other people, that's okay. Which is exactly what the guy from IL Texas said. He said in a deal, hey man, I went to Tulsa Public Schools a few weeks ago and talked with them. And it's amazing about how much Ryan Walters wants to punch them, wants to kick them, and try to harm them. And he even said that he talked to several teachers and administrators who were in fear Why were they in fear? Because they've been getting emails and phone calls from Ryan Walter supporters that have been violent, that have been talking about physical threats against these teachers and their families. And that causes division and chaos. Absolutely. How does it do this? Well, it's kind of basic. One, Ryan Walters wants to destroy the public school system. The public school system is enshrined in our Constitution, so it's really hard to do that. We have a provision where, hey, you are afforded a free public education if you want it. That's part of our Constitution in Oklahoma. Well, so he can't get rid of it that way. But you know what he can do? He can rile up his supporters enough to send death threats to teachers and administrators. And what does that do? Well, that makes them anxious. It makes them nervous. It makes them scared. It makes it really hard for them to do their job or even want to do the job. And that's the point, right? Because if he can cause enough chaos and division and anxiety amongst these teachers, fearing for their lives, their kids' lives, their spouses' lives, their parents' and brothers' and sisters' lives, well, that makes it harder for them to do their job, you see. And then that makes it sure that that public school system will fail. So he can come back later and say, look, couldn't get it together. But mostly it was because Ryan Walters stoked Stoic terrorism, so his followers would go commit threats of violence against these people. It serves him well, absolutely. See, he can destroy the public school system that way. And the amazing thing about it is, these teachers that are getting these death threats, they weren't even part of the Confucius classroom. As I said, that was one teacher from Booker T. Washington. One. That's it. But all these other administrators and teachers are getting these violent threats from conservatives that support Ryan Walters. These are those conservative values I was talking about last week, of violent threats. It serves them well. It creates the chaos and the division that they need to survive, or that they think is going to work for them in some way to get to the goals that they want. And it may. It may actually work if nobody fights back. If nobody does anything else. And sure, hey man, these teachers doing this, they didn't come in here to be political. They didn't come in here to make a stand. They didn't come in here to do that. They came in here to teach some kids on low pay. It's not worth it for them. Ryan Walters knows this. So if he can cause enough chaos, he knows he can shut it down. It will work. It's absolutely what he's going for. Because yeah, we got Booker T. Washington being a blue ribbon school, and he has to sully that. He has to throw feces on it to make it look bad, because we can't have that. It's not going to help the people who back me out. And the weird thing about all this is, well, really one of the cool things about this is, when you look into it, the guy who runs IL Texas, the CEO, the guy who puts all this together, he's a retired major from the Marine Corps. Yeah, he's a veteran. And he even says in his letter he put out, because I gave an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and its people against all enemies, foreign and domestic. He made sure to point that out, by the way, that it was also domestic that he was going to defend too. And he said that Ryan Walters is full of crap. That's exactly what he did. He's un-American. He's full of hate, and he's full of self-serving qualities that you see that are in him. He doesn't care about our kids. He cares about his political future. He cares about his ideology and his Christian nationalism. And I'm not even sure that he really believes in all that. I'm not sure. But that's where the money's at for him right now. Going after the Christian nationalist planks. They're the ones who are backing him. So why not do their pleasure, I guess? Maybe that's what all this is about. Because I heard other people say, I knew him from a long time ago, and he wasn't all this crazy. Okay, well, maybe something happened, like somebody offered him a big old bag of money if he would advocate for them. Because here you go. This Confucius classroom, all they're doing is learning the Chinese language. That's it. That's the whole thing. We're going to learn the Chinese language. There's no history or anything in this part of what they did. They're not funded by it. There's no funding coming in. None of it is funded by them. Nothing like that. This is just a chicken little act from Ryan Walters. That's all it is. going after a blue ribbon accredited school because he wants to say that they're in a cabal with Chinese Communist Party people. Oh, and he says that they're high-ranking officials that are involved in this. High-ranking officials of the Chinese government are involved in Confucius classroom. Of course, in his report, he just says that. He doesn't cite any sources or tell you where you can go find that or anything else. He just says, hey, I'm the Ryan. I said it, so just believe me. Well, we can't. He's a liar. We know it. He's been dishonest. He's being sued for being dishonest right now. That's what this is. Big deflection from Ryan Walters' own inept abilities, his lawsuits, his own corruption. Where's the missing $31 million of Greer funds? He wants to deflect from all that. Of course he does. He can get in a lot of trouble when it comes out to find out that he's a corrupt piece of crap. That's what we're going to find out on all this. So he's got these amendments. In his deal, he offers a couple of amendments, to keep the Chinese Communist Party out, and we don't want to learn this stuff, which is crazy on its face. Because even the guy with IL Texas says, hey, these Chinese language classes are about national security. This is about national security. You need to be able to speak the language of your allies and your enemies in order to do diplomacy, in order to have a national security policy. Things that Ryan Walters is against. See, Ryan Walters, he really doesn't like America. He doesn't like the United States of America. He really doesn't like it. He doesn't like our Constitution. He wants to get rid of it. He wants to do a constitutional convention. He's one of those guys. Those are the people that support him. See, the First Amendment, they want to get totally rid of it. The only thing the First Amendment should say is that you got the ability to be a Christian if you want to, and that's it. You can't talk bad about Christianity. You can't talk bad about conservative lawmakers. You can't talk bad about previous conservative lawmakers or presidents. That could get you in trouble. That's exactly what they want. That's exactly where they're at. So that's what we have this week. Ryan Walters going after Tulsa Public Schools again. Hitting Booker T. Washington, causing a bunch of chaos and division within the legislature as well as Tulsa Public Schools, riling up his people with Stochastic Terrorism so that they will threaten teachers and administrators with threats of violence. That's what we got with Ryan Walters, the report, and his Confucius Classroom Chicken Little Act. This is Across the Desk with Kit Fairchild, and we'll see you next week.